Hi, our third reading comes from Genesis 28. Jacob had a dream where the Lord said, "I am the Lord, the God of Abraham, your father, and the God of Isaac. The land on which you lie I will give to you and to your offspring, for I will not leave you until I have done what I have promised you." Then Jacob made a vow, saying, "If God will be with me and will keep me in this way that I go, and will give me bread to eat and clothing to wear, so that I come again to my father's house in peace, then the Lord shall be my God, and this stone which I have set up for a pillar shall be God's house. And of all that you give me, I will give a full tenth to you." This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Well, like the passage before with Abraham, his father, Jacob comes to recognize that everything belongs to God. And here we see that God makes a vow to Jacob, a promise that he's going to look after him and bring him safely into this land that has been promised. Jacob, like Abraham, responds, and he responds symbolically again with this gift of a tithe or a tenth. He gives 10% of everything that God gave him back to him. But do you notice that Jacob's vow, unlike God's, is conditional? He says this, he says, if you'll be with me, if you keep me, if you give me bread, if you give me clothes, if you bring me to your house in peace, then I'm going to do this. God's gifts are unconditional, but sometimes ours are said with fingers crossed. Nonetheless, he does recognize that it all comes from God, and he does respond with this faithful and symbolic tenth. Now, the significance of this is that we are still in the book of Genesis, long before the law is given to the people of God. And often when I discuss this subject of 10% or the tithe of giving with Christians today, what they say to me is, well, that no longer really applies to us because that was under the law. That was just a legal obligation from the old days. We're no longer under the law, we're now under grace. That was the old covenant, we're now under a new covenant inaugurated by the blood of Christ on the cross. And whilst it's true we live in a new and everlasting covenant now, the interesting thing about this is it predates the law. It's telling us that this idea of a tenth or a tithe is not a mere legal obligation for a period of time in history, but is a universal principle that has applied both before, during, and as we will see, after the law as well. The giving of 10% is a normal thing for believers to do and has been ever since the beginning.